everybody? Lord Tremendous here. Got another battle report here for you. This is a 2,300 point battle, a little bit more Lone Wolf GT prep, and honestly, it's just me learning the Varangur list. As you know by now, I've got the new army all set up. Mostly, they're kind of stuck to the bases, but everything's legit, and that's what matters. I have made some changes to my list from the last list because I'm seeing what's working for me and what's not, and my buddy, Inner Eddie, is my opponent, and he's playing as Ogres. Eddie's very good at the Ogres. Back when I played Ogres, I took a lot of ideas that I used from my games against him to use in my Ogres, but now I'm playing Varangur, and I told him, "Come on, bro!" And he was like, "Brah!" And then we looked at each other like, why are we talking like that? And then we were ashamed. But anyway, this is a good game. This is a very solid game, and it's a lot of fun. So sit back, relax, and get ready to see how it goes. Here's my list, and there's just been a couple of small changes in the characters section there. I've still got my king on a Chimera with Brutal in the Fog, because that's a great kit. And then I have a chieftain on a mount. He's still got brutal, but I gave him a staying stone instead of hammer because the hammer was useless. And I figured giving him a higher nerve check is always a good thing. I got two butt-naked scalds because I just need them for inspiring, and I have a Magnus Conclave with Famulus. I've only got one now. I haven't taken them completely out of the list because I'm not sure if that's the direction I want to go with it yet, but I know I don't want two anymore, and I'm seeing if having one is even worth it. If not, that's great because I'll drop them and have 110 points to play with. The bulk of my list consists of a couple of Thunder Wolf troops, and they're just great chaff. They're not bad, too, because with 10 attacks, they can put a couple of wounds on you before they get, well, murdered. I've still got my Warband Horde. They still have two-handed weapons and the Crystal of Retribution, because I love the Sabotage unit, I really do. And then I've got my Sons of Korgan Regiment. They still got two-handed weapons, because I still haven't figured that out at this point. I had some extra points left over, so I gave them a Blade of Slashing, and they still have Fury. And the rest of my list consists of another Sons of Korgan Regiment with Fury, two-handed weapons, and the Mace of Crushing. And then, of course, I have my mounted Sons of Korgan. It's a regiment as well. They just have Fury. I threw in a Dire Fang Regiment just because I want to try them out and give them the Brew of Haste because I wanted to have at least speed 7. And I took a Jabberwocky because I really missed having a monster in my army. So yeah, it's a little bit different from the last list, and I'm hoping to have more success. I just wanted to try some things out. But that's going to do it for my list. I'm going to post my opponent's list, play some music. Feel free to pause whenever you like to see what he took. The scenario that we played in this game was Invade. Again, rolled a d12, got a 5, so this is what we're playing. At the end of the game, add up the total unit strength of each player's units that are entirely on the opposing player's half of the board. This is the total number of victory points that player scores. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Here's deployment. So on the left flank there, I stacked it kind of heavy because I wanted to try to get around him. I saw that he put down that unit of slaves over there, and I thought that's easy to get through. So I have a unit of Tundra Wolves that are going to hopefully deal with the slaves, and then my chieftain and my Chimera, or king on a Chimera, are going to try to get into his shooter hordes and stop them from shooting. I know I'm running into a lot of pew-pew in this list, and that terrifies me. And then I just kind of grouped everything else up in the center. I have my Tundra Wolves right next to, on the right side of the force. I'm sorry, in the force is that last Magnus Conclave, but it's. I'm not gonna even try to joke around about it. They suck. I don't like Magnus Conclaves. So anyway, it's in the forest, but that's probably the last time I'll mention it. The Wolves are right there in front of the Sons of Korgan with the Blade of Slashing, and they're just there to screen for them. I've got my big old unit of Warband with the Retribution Crystal, and their job is to explode and hopefully do a lot of damage. I've got the Jabberwocky behind them because he's the perfect cleanup monster. The Scald is over there to give everybody some inspiring. And then I've got next to the warband, I've got my mounted sons, and they're going to just try to get into some ogres and beat their faces in. Next to them, it's a very proxied unit of Dire Fang. I don't know what to expect out of them, so I put them out front kind of as a screen, and I have my second unit of Sons of Korgan. They're just ready with the Mace of Crushing, and they're ready to clean up whatever the Dire Fangs leave left over. That's really it for my deployment. My strategy was to push forward and beat the crap out of the enemy before he could shoot me off the table, and, well, you're about to see how that goes. So here's top of one after movement, and he went first, and he comes forward, which actually surprised me a little bit. I figured he was a shooting army, he was going to kind of hang out, but instead he kind of does this weird shell game with his guy. Well, not shell game, but he forms this protective barrier around. As you can see, everything's kind of cocked around, going around the forest and everything like that. He's got basically an impenetrable fortress thing going on with just about every lane opened up for charging. Damn. His shooters on the hill and stuff like that stay still. The ones behind them, also, they have got that little alleyway there. I'm going to get cover, but, you know, they're still shooters, and it's Inner Eddie. The man can shoot. So, yeah, nothing super remarkable, but a very defensive opening move. That's it for his movement. We jump into the Pansy Phase, and yeah, he opens up on the warband because he does not want them blowing up on him. And his first shot, I've got cover, so he's only able to do a single wound to him, so that's not terrible. And then the unit on top of the hill opens up on him and does a couple more wounds for 3 total, and they're totally fine with that. So with my confidence bolstered by that, the fact that his shooting did not devastate me, we go to bottom 1, and I go charging forward. Obviously, the warband with the Crystal Skull, or Crystal of Retribution anyway, they go straight forward, like daring him to charge me. I send the Dire Fang and the Mounted Cav into right up to the edge of the forest, because that's as far as I can go. I can't advance into the forest like that, or I can't at the double, whatever, into the forest. But again, if he charges me, that's fine. I'm pretty sure my guys can take it, and he'll be hindered going through the forest, so I'm not feeling too worried about either of my cavalry units. The infantry, they follow right behind him. The Scalds follow pretty much suit. The Jabberwocky goes right behind the warband because he's going to go into whatever is left after they explode. The other dogs move forward, just daring something to come after them. My King on a Chimera moves up, and the thought here, and again, this is just my ignorance showing, was the King, I knew he was going to be charged by something, but I figured that's fine, he's not going to break, they'll back off, and I'll be able to fly into his shooters or into his boomers, and that would be great. I forgot that if you took a wound in close combat, you became disordered and lost flight. So, yeah, that's why I moved him like I did. It was really stupid. Other than that, though, the warband and the chieftain move up to try to get advantageous angles to get into shooting units later on in the game, and that's pretty much it for my movement. In the Pansy Phase, my Chimera breathes hot death onto the giant, doing 3 wounds to it. Maybe the slaves, one of the units. I'm just within 12 inches, which is fine, and I'm able to do 3 wounds to him. So I'll take it. That's not awful. With nothing else going on in my turn, here's top of 2 after movement, and like I said, the giant comes in after my Chimera, which it was my plan, but it was just a very poorly thought out plan. His slaves charge into my dogs, which I'm not overly worried about at all, which is also good because I can slip my my chieftain through now, and hopefully get into the shooters and stuff before long. And the rest of his stuff moves up pretty conservatively. He kind of changes his facings and stuff to look at everything, but he's got a lot of shooting in this army, so he doesn't need to come forward. In fact, I think his warrior units back up a little bit. So, yeah, I've got to go through the firing range in order to get to him, so I guess that's what I'll have to do. That's it for movement. So we open up the shooting, and he fires at the warband, doing 11 wounds to him. Yeah, his I think it was the boomers right there. 11 wounds. God, did that suck. Another unit, I think one of the shooters unit, fire at my Jabberwocky, doing 4 wounds to him, which isn't as bad as 11, but that still hurts. His dice have warmed up, that's for damn sure. His other unit of shooters opens up on my mounted sons and does 4 wounds to them, which they should be able to handle, but damn, 4 wounds, that sucks. And then he continues to roll high, and he makes it so that my damn warband is wavered. So now I can't even go forward with him. Oh, did that suck. I mean, he didn't have to roll super high in order to do it. He should have probably broke the unit, but The entire purpose of that unit is to get stuck in and explode, and he's going to end up shooting him off the table. And damn, it's disheartening. We go into combat, and this psychopathic giant puts 7 wounds on my Chimera. He's not hindered, he's got Strider, but he does 7 wounds to my Chimera. I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you out of your mind? 7 flippin' wounds. He's fine, the giant backs off, but 7 wounds. I did not think that that was what was going to happen in this combat. That sucks. In this combat, the slaves actually don't do a whole hell of a lot. They do a couple of wounds to the warhounds, or the tundra wolves anyway, and yeah, considering they had like 30 attacks, I really expected more. I'm perfectly fine with this. He's still rolling high though, and he's able to waver the tundra wolves, but it's not enough to break them. They back off an inch, and they'll probably finish them off next turn. Too bad the towns don't have fury. With that, we go over here to bottom of 2 after movement, and I don't have a whole lot of options. I've got a real traffic jam in the middle there with all my with my warband wavered, just standing there going, "What hit us?" And I was wrong. Those 4 wounds, all of those wounds went into the warband. None of them went into the Jabberwocky. The Jabberwocky's fine. Hence the huge pile of wounds sitting behind the warband. My Tundra Wolves charge into the shooters with my Chieftain following suit, just to, if nothing else, just to stop them from shooting for a turn. My Mounted Sons, they're able to get into the unit of warriors there, and even though they'll be hindered by going through the forest, I'm feeling pretty confident. 20 attacks. I need to break them, and I need to overrun enough where they're not going to be able to countercharge me. So I need to go 5 or 6 inches. It's a little desperate, I know, but what other choice do I have? I'm getting shot off the table here. My king goes to charge the shooters on the hill, and my opponent's like, "Oh no, that sucks." And I was like, "Yeah, I figured that would be fine." And one of the guys watching goes, "How's he doing that?" I'm like, "He's got fly." I was like, he goes, "No, he took wounds in close combat last turn." I'm like, son of a bitch. I forgot. So yeah. So the king on a Chimera goes into the giant to try to, get a little bit of revenge and see what he can do about those 7 unanswered wounds. God, that sucked. So yeah, the infantry sons on the left side there, they move up just a little bit to charge what's ever open next turn. And on the right, I turn into the forest with the dire fangs to look at the shooters or boomers or whatever the hell those are over there, just to try to get close enough to them to charge them. And the sons on my the rest of my sons on the right flank there turn to suit, with the Scald giving them inspiring. That's it for my movement. Are you guys ready for this? So, in the Pansy Phase, my god-awful, useless Magnus Conclave fires both of its shots at the shooters on top of the hill. Both shots hit. 1 wound. 1 wound is done to that unit. These things are fucking garbage. I'm sorry. I don't like Conclaves at all. And then we jump into combat, because it's really all I got. My king on the Chimera is able to do 7 wounds to the giant, which answers for what he did to me earlier, that son of a bitch. 7 wounds are done to him, and that brings him to 10, because he took 3 earlier, which allows me to waver him, which is great and all, but it's not going to super matter because he's got Fury. He's coming right back in next turn. My dogs and my chieftain attack these boomers, and they're able to do 3 wounds total. I really flubbed my rolls here. The chieftain wounded once, the dogs wounded a couple of times. It was really embarrassing. But it is going to stop him from shooting next turn. Now I just got to deal with the countercharge. This combat over here, though, with the Mounted Sons, even hindered. 14 wounds done to these warriors. Oh, it was beautiful. Really, really beautiful. 14 wounds done to these guys. They're all butt broke. And then the one thing that could possibly ruin my whole plan happens. I roll Snake Eyes. The first roll rolled like a 9. He would have routed. He's got that character right back there, the army standard. They look at the banner. They're inspired. They stick. Snake Eyes. I'm about to get countercharged by this unit, and then flank charged in both flanks by pissed off warriors. I cannot believe that just happened. I have no choice. I back off an inch, I look at what's coming, and all I can think is he's literally about to melt this unit, and there's nothing I can do about it. Just to add insult to injury, too, I rolled a d6 to see how far forward I would have gone. I'd have gone forward 6 inches. I would have gotten away. I'd have been in his back area there. And no, Snake Eyes, just devastating. Devastating that this just happened. Here's top of 3, and the ogres are just unloading. On the left flank there, the slaves go back into the wolves. The giant countercharges my my chimera, because he's got fury. He could care less about being wavered. The boomers countercharge the dogs in the center. The oh god, in the middle there, the mounted sons, as you can see, they have 18 pissed off ogres just jumping them. I mean, I'm looking at what, 72. 90 attacks, 70, 80, yeah, 90 attacks about to come into my mounted sons. It might be a felony. I don't know. I should have probably called the cops, and I've got no support for them. Nothing I can do. This is devastating. It's going to hurt to watch again. I'm sorry. I know it happens, and I'm trying not to cry. Oh, my God. Oh, what can you do? Other than that, though, on the right flank, everything just kind of stays still, and that's it for his devastating movement. We go into his Pansy Phase, and even with cover, his boomers are able to do... Well, I guess the boomers don't care about cover. But he's able to do 4 wounds to my Dire Fangs, and that isn't great. That isn't great at all. And then one of his unit of shooters, or something from way downtown, fires at my son's infantry, because that's really the only thing he wants to shoot at, and is able to do 2 wounds to them, which hurts. His captain, because he can, fires at my chieftain and puts a wound on him, which just makes him look cooler. And then we go into my nerve checks, and my Dire Fangs become wavered. I couldn't flippin' believe it. I almost came out of my skin. I'm like, are you kidding me? 4 wounds? If they were a horde, this wouldn't have happened. I know. But it did. It did. 4 wounds, and they're wavered, which basically means they're going to sit there up for a turn while they get shot up again, and there's nothing I can do about it. These guys need to go to courage school or something, because this is frustrating. I'm sorry, I missed it too. The warband got shot up by some boomers or something like that, took 5 more wounds, and they're routed off the table. So that entire unit was useless this turn. They soaked up a lot of damage, don't get me wrong, I'm very pleased with that, but the fact that they got wavered and stuck there for a turn, it was just free points for my opponent. Very well played, what can I say? Combat's up next, and the slaves do 2 more wounds to the warhounds, or the Tundra Wolves anyway. And you know what? I gotta respect the consistency, but okay, 2 more wounds. Nickel and dime, I guess. They're perfectly fine, so we go over into this combat, and the boomers are able to do 9 wounds to my warhounds. It's not looking good for the puppies. And it's not. Even with the chieftain right there, they rout and they're gone. So, what can you do? This combat. Oh. So, yeah, all those dice, that's how many wounds were done to the unit. I'm not going to bother counting it all up, because just a quick look, I'm seeing over 30 wounds, and it hurts my feelings. And he didn't even roll, like, average. He rolled pretty bad, but 90 attacks. Oh, my sweet lord. It took, like, 5-6 minutes to do this combat. They beat the mounted sons into their base elements. It is so brutal. I literally had to call my mother afterwards and tell her what happened. I tried calling the police. They hung up on me. They told me to stop calling. But yeah, this is so bad. And just like that, the unit ceases to exist. He repositions his ogres like that, and I reevaluate my life choices. Oh my God! I have never, in all my years of wargaming, seen a beatdown that savage before. I'm glad I could be a part of it. I just wish I had been on the other side. So after that, I limp into the bottom of 3 after movement. I'm really out of ideas. Oh God! So his giant. I'm sorry. In that last combat, his giant flubs and doesn't do anything to my dragon, so he can fly again. And he does. He charges into the flank of the shooters or boomers or whatever the hell they are. I think they're boomers. They might just be war. I don't remember what the hell they are. Oh no, they're the brutes. They're the brutes over there on the left flank. I'm able to get into their flank with my Chimera because he didn't take any wounds last turn, so life is good there. The Warhounds countercharge the slaves, and that's really. Oh yeah, my chieftain is able to see and charge the. Oh, what's it called? The captain, because he's an individual, so he gets that free pivot in the very beginning. And no, not that I expect him to take out the captain, I just want the captain to stop shooting. And if I can take him out, there goes the inspiring over there, which will make dealing with that corner a lot easier, I hope. On the right side there, because my center is gone, my Waver Direfangs, they just kind of reposition themselves a little bit to look around because they're screwed. The Suns on both sides, they just kind of turn to face because I don't have a clue what to do with them anymore. They've got me outmaneuvered, outclassed, outgunned, and I can't go anywhere without getting double charged if I do move forward. My Jabberwocky's got 4 attacks and nothing to do with him, so I'm starting to see the real weakness to taking a Jabberwocky. I might have to go with a Devourer after this. And yeah, I'm desperately waiting for my opponent to make a mistake so that I can capitalize on it, and it's just not looking good. That's it for movement. We dive straight into combat because that's all I got. Believe it or not, the Magnus Conclave actually failed to do anything this turn. I know. 3 rounds of shooting. 3 or 4 rounds of shooting. 1 wound done completely. Well use of 110 points. Fuck those things. Anyway, we go into combat over here, and the Tundra Wolves, again, around 110 points, they do 4 solid wounds to the what's it called? Slaves, which it's freaking amazing that they're able to do that for 110 points. I know. Yeah, screw conclaves. So 4 wounds, that's not bad. They've revisited all the damage onto the slaves that they've taken from them. Obviously, 4 wounds done to slaves isn't going to be enough to break a horde of them. I back off an inch, and let's see what happens next turn. My king on a Chimera in the flank of the brutes is able to do 13 wounds to him, because he does double his attacks in the flank. Yay! He's not an individual! 13 wounds to these guys. I think they're a 15-17 or something like that, so I do have a pretty good chance of routing them. I roll it, I do just enough to waver him, I miss routing him by 1, and then I remember this guy's got brutal. That was enough. The unit is routed, it does nothing, and my king has actually performed, and yeah, I felt good about that. After getting his skull caved in by a giant, I feel happy that he was able to take out that big scary unit of brutes. Yes! Finally something goes my way. My chieftain against the captain, he's able to do a single wound to him. He's only got 5 attacks, but the wound is enough to stop that thing from shooting this turn, which is great. But obviously it's not enough to so much as even waver him. I back off an inch and prepare to meet my fate next turn. Speaking of that fate, here's top of 4 after movement, and yeah. On the left flank there, his slaves countercharge the Tundra Wolves, which makes total sense. His giant goes into my Magnus Conclave, and I can't wish any more the best for that giant. I want him to beat that thing down like it's a triple charge against mounted suns. I want that thing to suffer. I hope that giant lives a long and fruitful life, because it's going to take care of the biggest cancer in my entire army. Thank you, giant. Thank you for being the hero I need. The rest of his units just kind of come around. His 2 characters charge into my chieftain on the hill there, so he's in a lot of trouble. The shooters come over to try to deal with my Chimera, or my king on a Chimera, which they could very well do. The rest of his unit comes forward because he's got nothing to fear from me anymore. He just gets in a position to kind of shoot me off the table and then sweep up what's left next turn. That's it for his movement. We go into the Pansy Phase, and things are about to get pewy. His 1 unit of boomers opens up on my Dire Fangs, and he's only able to do a single wound to him. Finally. Only a single wound, which means I'll probably, like, self-explode or whatever it is, burst into flames. I don't even know. His unit of shooters on the ground level there fire at my sons and put 6 wounds on them, so that's, yeah, that's pretty much spells their demise right there. His unit of shooters on the hill open up on him as well, putting 6 wounds on them, so for a total of 12. That hurts a lot. And then the second unit of boomers opens up on my dragon, and he takes only 2 more wounds, so that's not terrible at all. It brings him up to 9, but I think he's going to be okay. In the nerve portion, yeah, my son's rout. They took 12 wounds, and they said, you know what, we're tired of this battle, we're going home. And my heart broke yet again. My unit of Direfang, they waver again. 5 wounds, and the entire unit's useless. I know. In order to make them effective, you need to take them in horde formation. I fixed that next game. We go into combat over here, and the captain's put like just a wound or two on the chieftain. It's not really that devastating. Just kind of flubbed real bad. He's really fine, and they back off. Over here, the giant beats the piss out of the conclave, doing 4 wounds to him. I mean, it wasn't no 7 wounds or whatever, but he had minimum wounds, or minimum attacks. I think he only rolled a 1 on top of his 6, so 7 attacks. Wounds with 4, and the conclave starts crying, and that made me feel good. True to form, this useless piece of garbage unit took 4 wounds and broke like the cowards they are. They're routed, they're dead, and I don't think they got away. I think the giant ate all of them because they're the worst wizards on the planet. And I'm glad they're now poop. Very glad. The giant changes his facing like that, and he goes in search of more Magnus Conclaves, which he will not find in my list. Ever again. In this combat, the slaves put 3 wounds onto the dogs this time. They pushed real hard, and they found an extra wound in there. But honestly, with 7 wounds on them, these guys are only a 9-11. I'm pretty sure that's going to do them in. Or maybe they're a 10-12, 10-13. Either way, I'm pretty sure that's going to do it. It's like I was there. The dogs rout after a hell of a fight. I'm not even upset about this. And then the slaves turn around to face the Chimera, or the king on a Chimera. This was a hell of a fight. I got no complaints here at all. So with that over, here's bottom of 4 after movement, and I don't have a whole hell of a lot. My king is able to fly and slam into the shooters on the hill. My chieftain countercharges the captain that he charged last turn, and that is it for the most part. Everything is falling apart. My Direfang stand there and just like try to figure out what's up their ass, because that's apparently where their heads are at. I send a Scald forward to die a horrible death. My Jabberwocky charges one of the units because I've just got nothing else to do for him. And my Scald moves forward to kind of block. The other Scald moves around to try to bait, and that's it. I've got no other moves to make whatsoever. I'm floundering pretty bad at this point. We dive straight into combat, and sure enough, I do a solid 4 wounds with my chieftain into the captain, which I think brings him up to like 6. He's got brutal, so it's like 7. There's a chance. Unfortunately, it was a slim chance, and he's perfectly fine. I back off an inch, and I'll see him in hell, I guess. Against his shooters, my king on a Chimera is able to do 6 wounds out of 10. Not terrible, not terrible. And with brutal, it's like 7. So they're, damn it, I'm trying. I don't rout him, but I do waver him, so that's something. I'll take that. And maybe I'll get him next turn. We'll see. My Jabberwocky, with all 4 of his attacks, are able to do 2 wounds to his warriors, which, I mean, this is just a throwaway. I'm definitely starting to see the downside of taking a Jabberwocky. If you're getting your butt kicked like I am, he's mostly useless. Might have to go to a Devourer after this. Not that this is a huge big deal, but when I roll for the nerve check, I was only 2 wounds. I would have had to roll 12 just to waver him. But yeah, I roll Snake Eyes again. Oh, come on. Needless to say, the Snake Eyes makes it so that they're perfectly fine. I back off an inch and cry in my heart parts. And since that's all I could do, here's top of 5 after movement, and it's looking rough. On the left side there, his slaves, his giant, and his boomers kind of head towards the center of the table. He's going to try to earn the points that he can with them, which is smart. In the top there, over by the hill, his 2 captains charge my chieftain again, and then the warriors that withstood the attack from my mounted sons of Corrigan flank charge my Chimera, my king on a Chimera, and yeah, that unit that shouldn't be there is going to end up killing my Chimera. His other units of warriors, one countercharges the Jabberwocky, and the third one charges my useless Direfang in the flank. That's it for movement. On the Pansy Phase, his boomers were able to put 7 more wounds onto my sons, which just sucks. I really did not play my army well at all. But this is what I get. And so, yeah, just turkey shoot. What can I tell you? And then his other unit of shooters take a pot shot at my Scald and do a single wound to him. I mean, he didn't really have any other shots. He rolls a nerve check for my sons, and they rout. 9 wounds. 9 wounds, and off the table they go. Just couldn't go any worse. We jump into combat, and it's bad. It's real bad. The Warriors beat my Jabberwocky 10 wounds deep out of 18 attack. Oh, God. It's so painful. The Jabberwocky routs, and that's pretty much par for the course. Yes, there's a Scald right behind him. It's all falling apart. His other unit warriors are engaged with my Dire Fang. Even with 36 attacks, they are hindered. He hits and wounds 5 times. Really, really got lucky there, but unfortunately it's too little too late because they've already got 10 wounds on him, and they've been wavered for 2 turns, so they don't know where the hell they are. They're routed pretty handily and die a coward's death. I was talking to some of the guys after this game, and everyone was saying, you know, if you want these guys to work, you're going to have to take them in horde formation. And, yeah, I see the potential. I just haven't had the opportunity to use them because I did awful with them this game. In the combat with my king, his warriors, yes, those are the warriors that took 14 wounds from the Mounted Sons, got and stayed, and then decimated them with 2 of their buddies. They do 19, what is it, 6, 12, 18, 19 wounds to my king. 19! Dear God, he was already holding on to 9, so it was, what, 28? Ugh, just disgusting. He routs. No shit, right? He routs, dies horribly, and the warrior unit that's now covered in Mounted Sons and Chimera blood laugh menacingly at my poor chieftain that's sitting there getting beat up by 2 captains. My chieftain is actually okay, though. I mean, I think. He takes 2 wounds from the combined attacks of the 2 captains. I really expected more. I mean, I guess he only got like 3 attacks each, but still, 2 wounds, he might be okay there. And he is, which is shocking. Both the captains back off, and the chieftain looks around and goes, "What the hell happened to my army? Everything's dead. I'm in a bad place." And at this point, it's my turn, bottom of 5, and we look around. The scenario is, what, invade? I've got 2 60-point naked Scalds left on the table, and my chieftain. My chieftain is surrounded by enemies who are just going to shoot the hell out of him next turn, even if I kill the captain. And even if I do survive the entire time with all of my stuff, he's going to move his boomers, his warriors, his slaves, his giant, and his other unit of boomers over to my side and win. There's absolutely nothing I can do. So we call it, he tables me, and it is what it is. My opponent played beautifully and just beat my sorry ass. Whew. Sometimes you got to take that hard L, and when you take it, you get hit in the face by a truck. Hell of a game, though, and we'll get to the recap right away because this game is over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
So like I said, this was a vicious defeat for Lord Tremendous. I got my butt kicked off the table at the top of turn 5. In our group, when you surrender, it's considered a tabling. So I know I still had a few models left on the table, but let's face it, he had another turn or 2 to beat my ass. It was over. I had nothing left save for a smoldering need for revenge. Yeah, I'll definitely want to play against him again because, oh, this cannot stand. Whoo! What a whooping. My opponent, Inner Eddie, is a fantastic opponent. He really is. He makes really strong lists. He uses really good strategy, and it pans out for him. The man can also roll like it's nobody's business. Once his dice heat up, it's all over but the crying. And I played like shit, and he was able to really capitalize on that, which he should have. He played smart, and this is exactly what should have happened. I don't feel any shame in the loss, except for, you know, I don't like to lose any more than anyone else, but this was a lot of fun. We laughed a lot, mostly at my expense, but hey, it's always kind of a treat to see somebody play their army as well as Inner Eddie played his. I, of course, also had some really bad luck. I've never seen anything get beat down quite as severely as the Mounted Sons got beat down. I made some really terrible decisions. Look at Sons of Korrigan Infantry 1 and 2 if you need any further examples in that. I am done with conclaves. They're going on the shelf of shame, and I may never even look at them again. I am so disgusted with that unit. Definitely need more Dire Fangs, like we've already discussed, just to check out, you know, just what they can do. 30 attacks, higher nerve, just better all around. Definitely going to try that. And it's worth mentioning again, the Mounted Sons getting triple charge like that after the Snake Eye. They did so great. 14 wounds to that unit. They should have routed them. They should have destroyed them. They should have been in my enemy's backfield laying waste to the shooters. No. No, instead they became lower intestine obstructions to Ogre Warriors. Oh my god, that was brutal. Whoo! But despite all that, this truly was a fun game against a truly good opponent. I mean, he's always a good time to hang out with and play games with, so this wasn't a big deal. It was nice. He definitely taught me a few things by kicking my teeth down my throat, and what more can I ask for? Hopefully, next time I run into him for a rematch, I give him a little bit of a better fight. But until then, yeah, he can lord this over me for a while, because I don't think I've received that bad of a beatdown in a long time. And yeah, just proves that I need to up my game. Thank you, Inner Eddie. I will continue to try to channel you every time I roll dice. You bastard. And that's going to do it, guys and gals. Battle Report number 18 is officially in the history books. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comments section below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. And as always, thanks.